Okay, so when it comes to tech, we hear people getting scammed every day. Sometimes people get scammed on purpose when they buy a $2,000 GPU for $4,000 because there is no stock of it. But we are not talking about scalpers today. Right now we are only going to take a look at scams that are actually scams. They tell you something and it turns out to be something else. I have seen people get desperate for a good GPU, especially when the supply wasn't good enough a couple of years back. And even now that the 50 series came out and there was a shortage of high-end GPUs, people got desperate. When they can't get the GPU they want immediately, they get desperate and they are more likely to fall for a scam. So I was searching GPU scams, how do people fall for the scams, and most importantly, how do scammers get away with it. And what I found was awful, but interesting. These scammers, they use a lot of tricks. They are smart. Anyway, before the fun part starts, the tier list. Now we are going to rank them from F tier to S tier. F tier meaning that the scam is so bad that if you actually fall for this, to a degree it's your fault. And S tier where basically it's almost impossible to protect yourself from getting scammed. I am going to start with the most common scam that we hear about. You find a really good deal on a used GPU, like a really good deal, let's say on Facebook Marketplace. You write to the seller and he basically says to you, hey, I am trying to sell this GPU urgently, wire me the money right now and I will send it by post today. If you say no, I will send the money when I get a GPU, they will usually refuse. They will be like, I need the money urgently, that's why I'm selling it at such a good deal. And if you don't buy it right now, I will just sell it to someone else because the price is good. They pressure you until you wire the money and they never send the product because Facebook Marketplace doesn't actually offer any protection because you talk to the seller one-on-one. If you do things this way, you just got scammed.
One day later,
the seller never replies to your messages and you are not going to get your money back. This is F tier, just for the fact that there are so many ways to prevent this, from offering a place to meet, to you going to his place to get the GPU, to many more things you could do. And if he is a scammer, of course you wouldn't agree to that, but that's the point, you would know that he is a scammer. Usually the deals are so sweet to pass on, that's why people fall for these kind of scams. But let's say that the seller actually agrees to meet you, that doesn't mean that it's a done deal, because this is where the majority of scams can happen also. And if you pay cash at a coffee shop, then good luck finding who sold you the GPU. For example, they give you a pretty pristine looking box, it looks good, you pay for the GPU, and when you get home you find out that there's nothing inside the box, or maybe there's trash inside. Again, this is F tier for not opening the box at the location. But let's say that you open the box and the GPU looks good, you go online, you look at a trailer or two and it looks exactly how it should. You give the money to the seller and again you're off. Did you know that there are a lot of people who just clean the GPU a bit and then give you a broken GPU, or maybe worse, they get the GPU away from the shell and just give you the shell, you know, the fans. This is E tier, and I know this might be harsh because you actually are opening the box and looking at it, but let's say that the coffee shop is not the safest place to buy things because there is nowhere to test stuff and you might not have a lot of experience with GPUs, so you need to offer another place like their house. People are less likely to scam you when you know their home address. You know, there's just another level of trust there. So when you buy something used from a seller, the best place to meet is their own place. So this scam is E tier, but can someone scam you when they invite you to their own house? Yes, they can. First of all, you need to understand why they do it and how do they get away with it. First, when you buy something hand to hand, well, you see the product, you buy it, so you can't actually return it. Sometimes even legally you can't. Unless you provide proof that you actually got scammed, and you can't provide proof of something that didn't happen. So the seller can claim that he gave you what you were asking for, because if he didn't, why would you pay him? Most of the time you can probably get your money back, but it is a really long hassle, and for most people it's too complicated and too long of a procedure, so they will just leave it be. And remember this reason because we will get back to this on the scams that are really hard to protect from. With that out of the way, what if you decide to meet with a buyer? So you choose a location, you go there, you get the box, obviously you open it, you see the GPU, you test it, it works. You give him the money and you go home, but then you find out that it's not performing as well as it should. I mean, it works, it doesn't lag, but when you use your GPU to play games at high settings, it doesn't work as well as it should, like I said. And then you find out that it's the wrong GPU. Maybe you wanted a 3080 and he gave you a 3070, but no matter the reason, it's worse. I will put this at A tier. I know you can think that this is a high score, but I am not talking about someone just lying to you, because if you can see that it's an RTX 3070 and you still pay for it as if it was a 3080, then this is D tier, and I will leave a spot at D tier switching the GPU. Now about the A tier. I am talking when someone just takes an RTX 3080 and the RTX 3070 and then takes the actual GPU away from them and switches them up, and then gives you the RTX 3070 with the RTX's 3080's shell. And sometimes they use some messed up programs to make the actual computer think that it's an RTX 3080, so even if you check it, it will show that the computer has an RTX 3080. Basically, if you are not someone of a nerd and know what programs to use to stress test the GPU, you will pay more for a cheaper GPU and you will never be the wiser. So yeah, A tier. And scammers use this trick because most people don't know a lot about GPUs and they might even think that they got the right GPU and never complain about it. Okay, so we talked about the most common scams, and most of these scams happen because there's no protection. But what if we buy through websites that actually offer support and protection for their customers? Initially, you might think that people wouldn't scam through websites like eBay because eBay supports and offers protection for the customer. But again, if that would have been the case, I wouldn't be here talking about it now, would I? So while researching for this video, and when I say research I mean going through YouTube and searching GPU scams, I happened to come across this LTT video. Basically, you go on eBay, you search for the GPU you want, you place the order, they take the money, after a couple of days they give you a tracking number and then nothing. The tracking number says that the order has been fulfilled and you get nothing. That would be your experience. In reality, the scammer just puts random listings on eBay until someone falls for one, and when you place the order they get the money and they give eBay a fake tracking number. Okay, it's not fake, it's a bit more complicated, but it's fake for you, it's not yours. And let's say that the process to actually getting your money back is quite long and really complicated, to the degree where people don't even bother going through the hassle to take their money back. And that's why it happens. The scammer doesn't even need to contact with the buyer, and eBay makes it hard for the customer to take their money back. To eBay's credit, they need proof that you got scammed, and once they get the proof, they will refund the money. But providing the proof is really hard. So yeah, this I would say is S tier. It would be lower because you can get your money back, but there's no way to actually know you got scammed until you get scammed. So you are getting scammed either way, even if you end up getting your money back. And this is just an overview of the scam. For more info, go and watch LTT's video, they go far more in depth. Sticking with the LTT channel, there are 2 more videos on GPU scams. Okay, LTT has more videos on GPU scams, but they revolve around these 2 topics. The first one, what if you buy a mining GPU, and the second one, off-brand GPUs. Now I mentioned them both at the same time because the outcome is somewhat the same. So off-brand GPUs are not like some GPU manufacturer that you have never heard about. They will use parts from Nvidia, like legit parts from Nvidia, because there is no way you can fake that. But they will mock themselves as a legit company, and usually people that fall for these are either people who don't know about GPUs, and when they see that it has an Nvidia chip in it, they will buy it. Or people that are in a budget and want to save every single penny, because most times than not, these GPUs are a lot cheaper. The problem with this scam is that the seller will not be honest. They will be like, these GPUs are either new or refurbished, and there is always something more to them. They are most of the time used and just repackaged, or sometimes they will have irreparable damage done to them. So sometimes you get a decently refurbished GPU that will perform as good as a legit brand GPU, and sometimes you just get scammed. And then we have the mining GPUs. People tend to think that the GPU that has been used for mining is not good, and I can understand why. The GPU has probably been on for a couple of years and never took a break, but that would be wrong. Most miners actually don't stress their GPUs a lot because they think about the longevity of the actual GPU, not because they are honest, but because it's more profitable to them, so they take care of them. Actually, playing games can do more damage to the GPU than mining, because mining requires consistent power and resources compared to gaming, where the load just hits the GPU all at once. But then again, if this was all, I wouldn't be talking about this. There are crypto miners who stress their GPUs to the degree where it won't work properly. Now, the reason why people do both of these scams is because they have the GPUs and they want to sell them, and they don't actually care about the customer. If it sticks good, I got a couple of bucks. If it doesn't, they just return the product, no harm done. Basically, just shop at the websites that actually offer to give your money back if you don't want to get scammed. But these scams happen, and it is a scam because they advertise the GPU and say that it should perform decently, and it doesn't. So they are actually lying, and the customer buys them because even if they know that it's off-brand and it's been used for mining, there's still a chance that it will work properly. So both of these scams have a probability to either work properly or just fail. With that said, the off-brand GPUs are at B tier and the mining GPUs are at D tier, and you might be wondering why aren't they at the same tier. The reason for that is because the off-brand GPUs are usually more dishonest and they tend to stop working more frequently compared to the mining GPUs, where the probability of them working is higher, and if they work fine, they will most likely be good for a really long time. That's why I think they should remain at D and B tiers. Now, one other common scam. Imagine this scenario. You ordered an RTX 5090 for $500 on AliExpress or on eBay. You don't get a GPU and you apply for a refund, and you write to the seller. The seller might say like, send me $200 and I will do the shipping. And in your head you are like, the 5090 MSRP is $2,000. I already spent $500, and if I spend $200 more, I will still be saving like $1,300. So you are still winning. The problem with this scam is that once it happens, you can get the $500 if you apply for a refund, but all payments outside the websites are not refundable. So you got scammed out of the $200. People tend to fall for these scams because they already ordered the GPU and they are almost done with the purchase. They think they got a deal and they don't want to let it go, and the scammer, he basically wants the $200, and he can get away with it because he didn't scam you in the website. You send the money yourself outside the website, and because of that, this is C tier. Just because you didn't completely get scammed, you only lost like $100 to $200 for the transport, if you can manage to get the refund. Then we have the GPU die scam. Basically, the scammer disassembles the GPU and gets the GPU die out of the GPU, and the GPU die is basically the brain of the GPU. So they sell the GPU die and the GPU separately. The GPU die fetches a high price, and they sell the GPU without the die as if it was completely fine. And when you get the GPU, you see that the GPU you wanted, it's not working. But since you got a deal and it looks fine, you try to troubleshoot it and you write to the seller and you chat with him back and forth until it's too late to get the refund, or you get angry and you leave it be. This is also B tier, just because you can send the GPU back the second you notice it's not working. So this next scam is a bit interesting, because you might think that if you go to a legit store, like a legit store, you are safe. For example, Micro Center. If you go inside to the actual store of Micro Center and buy something, you would think that you are safe. But what if I told you that you might be wrong? There are some cases where people have bought the RTX 5090 in store, and when they have gotten home, they found out that there was no GPU inside the box. Yeah, Micro Center is good, but I had to mention it because it's Micro Center and you will never doubt them. So that's why people fall for this scam every time. So it's S tier. It's worth to mention that Micro Center is safe and scams don't happen in there, and they will refund everyone, probably, most likely. And this was just some kind of mistake, but it's funny to mention. That's why it's S tier, because you would never think about it. With that said, what needs to happen to make shopping safer? Well, for one, when you shop online, they need to make a system where they keep the buyer's money on hold for a pretty long time. So if you want to make a refund after a couple of weeks for any reason, we can at least talk to the seller and have that option, so the website doesn't get screwed over and it's easier for us to get our money back. Basically, we need to find a way where the scammer is the only one that loses, no one else. After that, one thing that I mentioned before is that people sometimes don't even bother to take the refund because it's too long of a process. I mean, just go through the process and take your money. Not because I care about your money, it's your money, do whatever you want with your money. But if everyone does whatever they can to get the refund, eBay, AliExpress and every shopping website will become a lot more stricter when it comes to the rules, because they can't bleed money, and most of the time they will get the money from the actual scammer. So if we do this enough, the scammers can't get the money and eventually they will stop. Besides that, have you ever been scammed? Do you agree with this ranking, and is there any GPU scam that I have forgotten about? And remember, I will be doing a live stream in the near future for all tax scams that happen, not just GPUs, so stay tuned for that, and maybe comment what scam do you think should be mentioned in there. So stay safe, shop on legit websites and stores, don't chat outside the official websites, and remember, if a deal is too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. If you like content like this, like, sub for more, and see you next time.